Good afternoon. Welcome to Toda channel. Today on the radio, we'd like to talk about real-world management problem the major company had in the past. Today, we have special guest from Kanagawa University, Kaisei Toda.
Hey, thank you, Ray. How are you doing?
Good, and you?
I'm fine. So, Ray, what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about Johnson & Johnson Tylenol crisis, what caused this problem, and how they solved the problem.
This is an exciting topic, Ray. Tylenol crisis is a success story of how management thinking and behavior leads to risk communication, right, Ray?
That's right, but it was shocking for consumers in a weaker sense, and it could lose their trust in long term, right?
Yes, that's true. So, what do we start with?
Let's start with what caused the Tylenol crisis in Johnson & Johnson.
Okay, what do you know about the Tylenol crisis, Ray?
Well, it's a crisis that occurred in 1982 in Chicago, right?
Yes, that's right. It's a crisis caused by an unknown criminal who replaced Tylenol extra strength capsules with cyanide-laced capsules, which are poisonous, and deposited them on the shelves of a few pharmacies and food stores in the Chicago area.
Right. Then these poisonous capsules were purchased by customers, and 7 unsuspected customers died, right?
Yes, this crisis is a tragedy because in the States, before the incident, Tylenol was the most successful over-the-counter painkiller with over 100 million users. And I was one of them. And my surrounding friend also had Tylenol as a painkiller. But putting that aside, Tylenol accounted for 33% of the company's year-to-year profit growth. Also, Tylenol was the absolute leader in the painkiller field, accounting for a 37% market share.
Wow, that's big. The information told us how big this company was. But this crisis seems that this company was like a victim of this crisis, aren't they?
Yes, you can say that, but they could have been prevented by predicting risk management. Johnson & Johnson had a good management between the process of manufacturing and launch from foreign matters getting into the product, but did not have a good risk consideration when the product was lined up in pharmacies and food stores.
I see. So I think Johnson & Johnson had lost a lot of customers' trust and profit due to this crisis.
Yes.
I've heard this crisis was spread throughout US newspapers and national and local television, and about 90% of American population had heard about this.
Wow, that is a lot.
Yeah, and one of the services claimed that this story had been given the widest US news coverage since the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
Whoa. That's a big crisis, right? So now that we know what caused this problem and the details of it, do you want to talk about what solved this problem and how Johnson & Johnson regained trust from the customers?
Yeah, let's now talk about that. So how was this crisis solved and how did they regain trust from customers?
Okay, there are four main remedial measures they did to solve the problem. First, they insisted on their credo. Credo. And second, they made an act of releasing information to the public through the media.
Mhm.
Third, they recreated the package design. And lastly, they started making more than 1 million presentations.
That's a lot, a million. Unbelievable.
Yes.
Oh, well, let's start off with the first remedy. When the crisis occurred, the then CEO did not only withdraw Tylenol from shelves, but promoted the fact through the media, right? They must have had deficit of $1 million. What made this decision? Was this decision related to their credo?
Yes, Ray, first let's look at Johnson & Johnson's credo.
Okay.
Do you know the credo, Ray?
No. Tell me about it, Kai.
Okay, there are 4 paragraphs, but the first sentence of this credo is related to this crisis, so I'll just explain the first sentence. It says, we believe our first responsibility is to the patients, doctors and nurses, to mothers and fathers, and all others who use our products and services.
Okay. So what does this credo relate to this crisis?
Good question, Ray. This point is that they gave priority to the customer rather than their profit. Because of this credo, they were able to make quick decisions in this emergency situation.
I see. Because of this credo, all officer and employee were able to unify and take quick correspondence to this crisis, right?
Mhm.
So, shall we move on to next remedy?
Okay, the next remedy was they made an act of releasing information to the public through the media, right?
Right. Johnson & Johnson had alerted the customer not to buy and use any type of Tylenol via the media. Also, they withdraw all the Tylenol products from pharmacy and stores in Chicago and the surrounding area, right?
Yes, even though there was a little chance of discovering more poisonous tablets, they withdrew all Tylenol products. Johnson & Johnson showed that they were not willing to take a risk with the public safety, even if it cost the companies millions of dollars. As a result, the public viewed Tylenol as an unfortunate victim of a malicious crime.
That's really clever.
Yes,
But
it is.
didn't it cost too much?
Yes, it did cost too much, but as I mentioned earlier, regaining trust is much more important than profit. Also, I personally think that trust helps keep profit in the long term.
I see. Are there any ideas conducted by Johnson & Johnson to regain trust from the customers?
Yes, they have. And this is the third remedy. Johnson & Johnson recreated the package design of the Tylenol product.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, the product of Tylenol lost customer trust due to packaging because it had enabled criminals to put poison in it, right?
Yes, so Johnson & Johnson had designed a new triple safety seal packaging. It has a glued box, a plastic seal over the neck of the bottle, and aluminum foil seal over the mouth of the bottle. And this packaging became the first product in the industry to use the new tamper-resistant packaging in just 6 months after the crisis.
That's really solid.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, is the package still being used until now?
Yes, it is still being used right now. And nowadays, this style packaging is a standard package of preventing contamination used in fields from foods to drugs.
Oh, really? I didn't know it had affected other packaging.
Yes, and in fact, good ideas of products come from this kind of crisis, failures, and mistakes.
I see. I will search about it after this discussion finished.
Please do so, or we can talk about it in the next podcast.
Yeah.
So, do you want to move on to the last remedy?
Yes. So the last remedy, they made more than 1 million presentations.
Yes.
This looks really, tough.
Yes.
Yeah, and just thinking about it makes me shudder. But it's needed to regain their trust, right?
Yes, they gave repeated presentation to the consumers, doctors, and other interested parties to explain the situation as much as possible to regain trust.
Mhm. What was the result after giving presentation of about 1 million times?
Yes, this great effort helped Johnson & Johnson recover 80% of their market share in just 2 months after the crisis. Just 2 months.
Just 2 months, that's great. What a success story they had. So nowadays, I also see Tylenol in Japan as well.
Yes, we do. We do see Tylenols in Japan, and I use Tylenol as my painkiller here in Japan as well.
Oh, really? That's good. So, what do you think was the key point of solution to this real management problem?
I think the key point of solution to this real management problem is not the medical effect of Tylenol. Even though the crisis was due to the criminals, Johnson & Johnson could have prevented this crisis from happening by strengthening risk management. Due to this crisis, they had lost trust from customers.
As a result, they were able to regain trust and profit due to this hard work by taking quick action to solve this problem, right? Also, the sympathy strategy was a big component of Johnson & Johnson's crisis communication strategy. It helped win support from the public by representing the organization as a victim and helped develop sympathy with the public. So thank you, Kai, for staying here on the podcast.
Thank you. It was really fun.
We will see you on the next podcast.